Okay, so I just start over again. Okay, so we're doing data visualization in R, but one of the critical things to find out about before you go into your plot is to know what graph to plot for what variables in your data set. So if you're going to plot a single categorical variable, for example, sex, gender, marital status, those are categorical variables. You're going to plot just one of them, you're going to use a bar chart. Okay? If you're going to plot a single numerical variable, for example, height, weight, age, a single numerical variable, you're going to use a histogram or a box plot. If you want to plot two categorical variables, so let's assume you want to see, you want to plot gender by marital status, for example. I'm just giving an example. Or let me use something that is common to diseases. Let's say you want to see disease outcomes, whether the person is alive or dead or unknown. For example, those are the different values within outcome. I want to disaggregate that by gender, male and female. So those are two categorical variables. In that case, you use a special bar chart. So because it's still categorical variable, you're still using a bar chart, but this time around it's a special bar chart. And the two special bar charts are what we call a stacked bar chart or a dodged bar chart. A stacked bar chart, like the name implies, is something that is stacked above each other. So if you've seen those bar charts that you see one thing above each other, that's a stacked bar chart. Whereas a dodged bar chart is when the things are beside themselves. That's a dodged bar chart. We'll see examples when we get into the plot. Okay. Then if you're going to plot two numerical variables, you use a scatter plot. For example, if you're trying to look at the relationship between height and weight, you use a scatter plot. However, if you're plotting anything that has date as the numerical variable on the x-axis, it's usually best to use a line graph, because a line graph shows you progression over time. Okay? So, yeah, so that's it. Then the last one is if you're going to make a combination of a categorical and a numerical variable, then in this case, you will plot the graph of the numerical variable, which will be what? Which is either a histogram or a box plot, right? And then disaggregate them by the categorical variable. I don't know if this makes sense. It might be a bit tricky. So what I mean by this is, so let's assume you're plotting a graph of height and gender. Height is a numerical variable, gender is a categorical variable, right? So whenever you have a combination of categorical and numerical, your plot will be the plot of the numerical. And we already know that a numerical variable is either what? A histogram or a box plot. So if you have a numerical and a categorical, focus first on the numerical. So do a histogram or a box plot of the numerical. Then after that, you now disaggregate them by the categorical. So it means for height and gender, you plot a histogram for height, and then you now separate them by the values in the gender variable. So you have the histogram for males and the histogram for females.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the things you should keep in mind whenever you want to plot graphs.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one. Then the next thing you also want to do. So plotting in R now, plotting graphs in R. So there, the package for plotting graphs in R is called the ggplot 2 package. And it contains the function ggplot. Okay? So it contains the function ggplot. Now, ggplot requires you to supply it with 3 parameters. If you're able to supply it with 3 parameters from your data, then it can plot any graph you want it to plot for you. And those 3 parameters, I give them the acronym DMG. So once you're able to supply DMG to your ggplot, it gives you the graph you want. So D is for data or your data set. M is mapping or aesthetics. Mapping of aesthetics. And then your G is your geometry. So once you're able to supply ggplot with these 3 things, it will give you your graph, right? So this is very simple. This is just your data set, the name of your data set. So if in case, like for example, if you're using Star Wars now, D will be Star Wars. Okay?
Yeah.
Mapping. Remember when we were in secondary schools that we used to buy these graph sheets that were already ruled.
Yeah.
I think they were like green in color, something like that.
Green or blue.
Or blue, exactly. So mapping is just to say, I want to place this variable on my x-axis. I want to place this variable on my y-axis, and not that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's how to map your variables to the graph. That's what mapping is. Mapping your variables to the graph. So let's say you want gender to be on the x-axis, and you want this to be on the y-axis, something like that. So you realize that at this stage, we've still not mentioned what type of graph we want, whether we want a histogram or a bar chart or whatever. At this DM stage, we've still not said that. And that is what the G is meant for. The G now tells us, or tells R, what specific type of diagram we want. Do we want a histogram? Do we want a bar chart? Do we want a box plot? Do we want a scatter plot? Do we want a line graph? Etc., etc., etc. That's what the geometry means. Okay?
Yes.
Now, R has names. It calls each of those geometries. So, a histogram, R calls it geo_histogram. a bar chart, R calls it zoom underscore bar. These are all functions, so they have their brackets, close. Then box plot, R calls it zoom underscore box plot. Then scatter plot, R calls it zoom underscore point. While a line graph, R calls it zoom underscore line. So these are the ones we're going to review. Are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So now let's get to the template of the code. So like I said, ggplot is the function that R uses to draw graphs. So the template is ggplot. Now I said you need to supply R with 3 parameters. The first is your
Yes.
data. So data equal to the name of your data set. Right? Comma.
Yep.
Go to the next line. The next thing is what? Mapping equals to aesthetics, that's AES. Then we can put our X, what we want on our X-axis, variable on X-axis, for example. And then if we have one on the Y-axis, we also put variable on Y-axis. And then we come outside of all of the brackets. If we're working before, we'll use a pipe operator at this point. But in ggplot, it uses plus, not a pipe operator.
Okay.
And then you can see we've added our data, which is D. We've added our mapping, which is M. The next thing to add is our what?
The next thing is
Geometry.
the geometry.
So geom underscore the shape, the particular shape you're interested in.
Okay.
So if you say bar chart, it will become geom underscore bar. If it's a box plot, geom underscore, just the way we have listed them out here. So this is your template for any graph you want to draw in R. Okay, so let's assume we want to draw a graph for gender variable in the Star Wars data set. So what kind of variable is gender variable?
Categorical.
Categorical. And we're dealing with how many categoricals here?
Okay, say gender versus
No, I just said gender.
gender. That's one now. One
That's
categorical.
one categorical variable. And according
Yes.
to what we wrote up here, for a single categorical variable is what?
The bar chart.
Bar charts. Good. So let's use our template here and give the code. So our ggplot, right? Our data equal to what? Star Wars, right?
Yes.
Comma, enter. Our mapping equal to AES. Now, X is equal to what? What variable do we want on our X-axis? Is
On
our gender,
gender.
right?
Yes.
Now, because it's only one variable that we're working on, the Y-axis will automatically become frequency.
Okay, yeah.
Makes sense, right?
It makes.
Good. So we don't need to put in Y equal to. So we go outside of the bracket and do what? Put our plus
Mm.
So we have given D, we have given M. The next thing is our G, which is June. And
Mm.
because we're dealing with a single categorical variable, we're drawing a
Mm.
bar chart, which is
Mm.
June bar. Okay?
Yes.
So if we run that, it gives us our, can you see the bar chart
Yeah.
of female and male? Okay?
Mm. Mm.
Good. So that's as simple as it is. Just
Mm.
supply those three parameters, your data, your
Mm.
mapping, and your geometry.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Very well.
Any questions up to this point?
Um, None for now.
Okay. So let's look at how to draw a graph of
Mm.
one of, to draw a graph of height variable in the Star Wars dataset. So first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what type of variable are we working with?
Mm.
Is it numerical or categorical?
Yeah. Okay, height is numerical.
Numerical. How many
Mm.
variables are we working with?
One.
One. Therefore, if you're dealing with
Therefore,
a single numerical variable, it is what? A
histogram
histogram or a box plot.
or a box. Mm.
So give me the code using the same principle above.
Okay. So we have ggplot
ggplot,
into data
data
equal to
equal to
Star Wars,
Star Wars. Excellent.
comma,
Comma.
okay, comma, now
Next line.
enter. Okay, then the mapping.
Mapping
Uh,
equal to,
so
you can
the
see as you are typing, it even brings it out for you. So you can just click on enter so that it comes out.
equal to
And then
ex
AES,
AES, sorry, AES
which is a
states.
function. You press enter so that the
Mm.
brackets appear.
Okay, so the x
X
axis equal to height.
height. Very good.
Height. Mm.
Then
Then
we
close
go
the
to the
bracket, plus,
with your plus, and then
enter. Then the geometry now,
mhm,
geom
June
underscore,
underscore
is it plot now? Okay,
a single
we're
numerical variable is what?
for a single numerical variable is a histogram.
So June histogram,
Histogram.
right?
Yes.
So we run it. So can you see the histogram?
Yeah. Okay.
You can see on the x-axis, we said we wanted the height, and that's why height's on the x-axis.
Mm.
Automatically, the count or the frequency will be on the
Mm.
y-axis.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Now you can
Okay.
see that our diagram does not appear
Mm.
very palatable, very beautiful, right? Like see the one of
Not
gender.
like this. Yeah.
Okay. So
Mm.
what do? We can beautify them.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to copy these two codes that I've drawn.
Mm.
I'm going to paste them here. And I'm going to see here with beautification. And here with beautification. So if you want to beautify your bar chart, so you can notice that. Are you still here?
Okay. Where your pointer is?
No, I
Yeah.
was asking if you are still with me. Because
Okay. Yeah.
I heard a sound that appeared as if you had logged out or something.
All right.
Okay,
No, no, no.
so remember, like these bars, they're like a hollow, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So if we want them to be colored, it's like we're filling colors into them,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
in our bar chart, we can say fill equal to, in quotation marks, let's say blue.
Mm.
That means we want the bars to be filled with blue.
Mm.
So if we run that and see it changes, fills them with blue color,
Okay.
right?
All right. Yes.
You can also say we want to fill it with red, and we run that, it fills it with red.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's fill. The outline of the bars can also be colored, the outline.
Okay.
So
Mm.
for that, you use color. So you can say comma here and say color equal
Mm.
to, let's say, blue, and then you run it. So if you see, I don't know if you've seen it well, there's some blue color around.
Okay.
I don't know if it's very visible. Let me zoom it in and see if it's better like this. Maybe let me change the color so that, let me make the
Okay.
field to be steel blue and make the color to be black.
Mm.
It will show well. Or make the color to be red. I want something that shows well. Okay, can you see a red outline?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what the color does to the graph. So the color colors the outline, while
Mm.
the fill fills inside of the bars,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
We can do the same to our histogram. So we can also say here fill equal to yellow and color equal to blue. And we run that. You can see our histogram has appeared better than it was before. This is how it was before.
Mm.
This is how it was before.
Yeah.
But now, by adding the color and the fill, it's better.
It's better.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so that's how you can beautify your diagram.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Color is the outline.
Yeah,
Feel
color
is
is the outline. Fill fills inside of the bars.
yeah.
Okay, let's move one step higher.
Okay.
So draw a graph of gender and eye color using the Star Wars dataset. Now, again, anytime you're drawing a graph, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what type of variables are you dealing with?
Mm. Yeah.
So what type of variable are we dealing with here?
Okay. Here we have two categorical variables.
Good. So we have two categorical variables. And for
Yeah.
two categorical variables, we said the
Mm.
graph for it is what? A special bar
Chart.
chart, which could either
Mm.
be a stack chart or a dot bar chart. Okay.
Mm.
So
Yes.
here we come and we say ggplot
Mm.
data equal to Star Wars mapping equal to AES
Mm.
X equal to, so let's put our eye color on our
Okay.
x-axis. So I want to check something. Don't hold my code. I just want to check something. Gender. Just want to check if I've not used this one before, if it will work. Okay, so ignore what I wrote. Let's try the correct thing.
All right.
Okay, so we're putting our X, right,
Yes.
as a color, right? Now,
Yes.
inside of the bar,
Mm.
where we use fill equal to, we'll write AES and say
Okay.
fill equal to gender.
Okay.
Now, when we are using fill to do general colors,
Mm.
remember I didn't put this AES. I
Yes.
just wrote fill equal to.
Mm.
But now, if I'm going to fill using a variable in the data set,
Mm.
I need to use AES because I'm mapping with a variable in the data set.
Okay.
So these are very important points to note. If you're
Mm.
going to map with a variable in the data set, it needs to be inside the AES. But if you're going to map a general variable, then it's not in the AES.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, when we filled with yellow, it filled everything inside the bar with yellow, right?
Yes.
But now we're asking it to fill with gender. And what does gender contain? Gender contains masculine, feminine.
Eh, yes.
So it's going to fill that bar of eye color with masculine and feminine.
Okay.
So if I run this now, so can you see
Okay.
the legend here says that orange is feminine, green is masculine, but there are some
Mm.
missing values also.
Yeah.
So you can see in each bar, it
Mm.
fills it with both masculine and feminine. For those that
Yes.
have missing values, it also adds missing values.
Mm. Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So assuming I didn't want, oh, don't worry, just this is it. So I just want you to note this thing that we did here, where we use AES to do our fill because it's a variable in our data set. And for here,
Yes.
we didn't need AES because we're just mapping a general mapping.
Mm-mm.
So this type of mapping is called static mapping because this yellow will affect everything in the diagram.
Mm.
Meanwhile, this one is called dynamic mapping because the
Okay.
mapping will now be according to the values within that variable,
Yes.
according to the values within that variable.
Yes.
It makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So
Okay.
now this is a stacked bar chart
Mm.
because it's one on top of the other,
Yeah.
one on top of the other.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
this looks
And
a bit,
then,
I'm going to select only these two colors, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's
okay.
blue, black, um, brown, blue, black, brown, and yellow. I want
Black.
I want the graph to appear a bit better.
Okay.
Blue, black, brown, and yellow. So I'm going to call the data set Star Wars 2, and then I'll assign it Star Wars, and then I will filter eye color
Mm.
is within blue, sorry, black, brown, yellow. Okay, so let me run this. So I have a new data set called Star Wars 2 in my environment, where the eye color is only blue, black, brown, and yellow. So I'm going to use Star Wars 2 to draw this graph again. So I'm just going to copy this here. Or let me copy from here. I'll put it here. And then instead of Star Wars, it will now be Star Wars 2, which is our new data set. And then I can now run it. Yeah, so you see it's better. I just wanted to remove all of those smaller colors that didn't. So I'm now using only black, blue, brown, and yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so this is stacked one on top of the other.
Yes.
Right? Now, to do a dodged bar chart, I'm just going to copy the same thing here. So to do a dodge bar chart, we just put after this thing, position equal to dodge within the jumper.
Okay.
Position equal to dodge. That's outside of the AES, so it's not inside the AES.
Okay.
You understand? So if I run this now, so you can see they are now side by side, not on top of each other.
Yeah.
So for black, this is female, this is male. For blue, this is female, male, and then missing values. For brown, this is female, male, and missing values. So this is a dodged bar chart, whereas the initial one is a stacked bar chart on top of the other. So stack is like stacking something on top of another. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just put the dodged variety.
Okay.
Yeah, ask a question. The stacked
And
variety.
yes, I wanted to say it means okay, we have already set jumper. Okay. Okay, I wanted if it is left like that, it's like they stacked, it's like the default, something like that.
Yes. So the stacked is the default because you are filling the what's it called? You're filling the bars. So as you're filling the
Yes.
bars, it will be one, it will fill male first, then it will fill female on top. So the
Okay, yeah.
stacked is like the default. But if you
All
now
right,
want
all
it to
right.
be side by side, you now indicate position dodged.
Position those. But
Yeah.
let's say just did the jumper
Mm-hmm.
and said position dodge only without putting fill gender.
So if you don't put full gender, it will only draw the graph of the X of the eye color
Okay.
because you have not included gender.
All right.
But
And so if we leave it at there, it is going to stack.
yes, it just is like if you
Okay.
just leave like this, is filling. So just imagine
Yes.
you're filling a bottle with sand and gravel. You first
Yes.
fill with sand. When the sand is finished, you now fill with gravel. So it's stacked on top of each other.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 1 minute to the end. I think we will stop there
Okay.
so that you can practice with this. When we come in tomorrow, we'll finish up the rest of the
All right.
other ones. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. See
Oh,
you
thank you.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.